you, Mr. Secretary, for being here. I want to start with the good news by saying that we are grateful in the state of Missouri for the folks at FEMA, the 12,300 personnel there and the 519 FEMA Corps staff, many of whom have come to the aid of my constituents over this past year in what was for us a very devastating year of natural disasters in the state of Missouri, and are helping as we get ready for another serious flooding season this season. So thank you for that. Having said that, I would be remiss if I did not mention that many of my constituents have faced seemingly insurmountable bureaucratic challenges in getting applications made to FEMA and getting responses from FEMA. We've had instances when folks are still waiting for a response from FEMA on assistance. We've even had a couple of instances in which FEMA awarded grants of individual assistance to individuals and then withdrew it, said, oops, we made a mistake. We want you to give all of that back. You can imagine how frustrating is not the right word. I mean, how absolutely infuriating that is, given everything that they've been through. Of course, most of these folks are still not even in their homes, given the flooding. So I've raised these issues with Administrator Gaynor repeatedly. I've also written him a letter to which he just replied yesterday. Here's the bottom line for me. I want to make sure that FEMA has policies in place to get Missourians the aid that they still need retrospectively, I should say, and that they are ready to assist Missourians in the flooding season that unfortunately is soon to be near upon us. Do I have your commitment on that?
You certainly do, and I've talked to Administrator Gaynor about this, and certainly as we look forward, FEMA is going to support not only Missouri but any affected community. I will say that I've certainly heard about the bureaucratic challenges that you mentioned, and it's certainly something I've talked to FEMA about. When a natural disaster hits, as I've said previously, that individual or that family that's affected could have 3 or 4, maybe up to 6 different inspectors, folks knocking on their door from a variety of different agencies, FEMA, HHS, and the like. So we want to make that as simple as possible, and I know FEMA is doing a lot of work on that. So again, you certainly have my commitment, again, working through Administrator Gaynor to try to simplify that process. If there's any outstanding I would say one-offs, certainly, let me know, and we can sort of address those. I read your comment to be a little bit more holistic, just bureaucratic challenges, but if there are specific ones, we're happy to take those on.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Look forward to working with you on that. Let's talk about the border crisis and opioids. I believe that CBP last year in FY19 at least seized over 1 million pounds of drugs, arrested 12,000 individuals wanted for criminal activity, and inspected over 400 million travelers, which is quite significant. In Missouri, we're feeling the effects of this. Our own Department of Health and Senior Services reports that 1 out of every about 56 deaths in the state in 2018 were caused by opioids. Over 1,100 deaths in 2018 alone due to opioids, and that's not even getting to other forms of drugs like methamphetamines, for instance, that are crossing the southern border and flooding into my state. I can tell you, I've seen it firsthand, there is not a single community, and unfortunately, there's not a single school in the state of Missouri that has not been touched by the drug crisis, this wave of illegal drugs coming across the southern border. Give me an update on that. What more do you need from this Congress to do your job and stem that flow?
Well, as I indicated earlier, I think we've got a couple of different challenges when we talk about opioids. Obviously, coming through the U.S. mail, coming into the country is a challenge. Congress has passed a couple of bills that provide additional resources, additional capabilities, the STOP Act, the Interdict Act that we are implementing, and so thank you for that. We continue to do that. When we talk about southwest border, it's our non-intrusive inspection equipment as well as our canine capability to continue to do that. So again, Congress allocated funding in FY19 and 20 for about 600 systems, NII systems, and that will increase our capability by 2023 to inspect, instead of 1% to 2% of vehicles coming in for illicit narcotics, to get all the way up to 40%, and for commercial vehicles to take that from 15% to 72%. So again, through Congress's help and resources, we are trying to roll out both the large, the medium, and the small non-intrusive inspection that gets at some of our narcotics.
Well, thank you for your work on that. Look forward to continue to working with you on it. It's a subject of immense importance.
Absolutely.
To literally every community in my state. Finally, for me, last topic, China. I've been following the exploitation, and we've explored at some in this committee, their exploitation of American research and of our educational system, including, of course, IP theft and sometimes just outright espionage. And I've introduced in this committee a measure, it's S2728, which would give your department expanded authorities to address this issue, including developing counterintelligence awareness training, a vetting task force, focused effort between your department and state to identify areas of study and fields of study that are sensitive for homeland security and counterintelligence purposes. Can you speak to some of that? Would those sorts of authorities, would this sort of effort be helpful to you in your work?
I certainly haven't seen the bill, but just what you described, it would be immensely helpful. And so the department, I would say about 6 weeks ago, I asked the department to pull together a China working group to take a look across the department of where are our authorities, where do we do a lot of work, where do we see any seams or gaps, take a look at the intel, and then come back. So that work's underway. I can tell you we probably have seams and gaps from a DHS perspective, but a lot of what you said I think would fit nicely in the work that we're doing. So we'd look forward to working with you on that.
Great. We'll follow up with you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.